So now that you're able to connect all of the chords on beat 1, moving one to the next at 60 beats per minute, all the strings sound great, everything's fabulous so far. Now what we want to do is work on getting faster. So what we would do is, just as before, we would move from 60 beats per minute to 70 beats per minute. And it means that the 1 of every measure is just a little bit closer together. Okay? 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Again, you don't have to let the chord ring anywhere past 2 or 3 or 4. Just as soon as you strum 1, you can start moving on to forming the next chord and strum that when its 1 comes around. Now what we want to know is that when we reach 100 beats per minute, still playing on the 1, let's see, we'll start with A minor and D minor again. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, right? So we're moving right along. However, what we need to do is we need to eventually start playing on more beats. So if we can play on 1 at 100, then we could probably play on 1 and 3 at 50. So that would give us the same amount of time to move from one chord to the next. Here's what I mean. We have 4 beats in every measure. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play on beat 1 and beat 3, so we're having to wait until later in the measure, until after we strum beat 3, before we can start changing our chord. So that narrows the amount of time we have. However, if you're able to play on the 1 at 100 and the next one at 100, that amount of time, in seconds and minutes amounts of time, is exactly the same as the 1 to 3 or the 3 to 1 in the next measures. So let's try this and you'll see what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so by this stage you should feel as though you have plenty of time to move from one to the next. So we work that up until we get up to 100, okay? And again, we're still going to play on 1 and 3. I'll use G and D next, okay? Okay, so there's that. Now once we get there, we would again move to 50 beats per minute, but we're going to play on every beat, and then eventually just make our way up a little bit at a time, again, as we're able. If you work up or you move the metronome to a certain tempo and you find that all of your notes aren't clean anymore, or you're having trouble strumming the right number of strings, or anything starts going wrong, what you need to do is back it up again to the previous tempo at which you sounded great, and stay there for a little while longer, and then try a higher tempo, and if that goes well, then you can stay there. I call it playing as fast as you can. And this is a little bit different than what I would say otherwise, which is playing as fast as you can't. So if you try a tempo that's too high, then you just simply can't do it. So don't spend time there. You don't want to repeat a lot of what you're doing if it's not sounding good. You don't want to practice sounding bad. You want to practice sounding great. So make sure that that's what you're doing. So once you get up to this point where you're playing at 100 on every beat, it should sound like this. Okay? So there you go. That's where we are with that. And onward to more strumming patterns.